everybody, Mike Banner here for another edition of 62 Who Knew, and for the second month in a row, our last show of the month is going to be geared towards advisors, towards professionals, towards financial planners, insurance agents, and yes, we welcome our ever-growing audience that is now in the tens of thousands of consumers. You're welcome. I think you're going to learn some inside secrets today, but today is the professional version of 62 Who Knew. And we're going to be giving you some incredible, great information today. Let's get to our two guests. I'm not going to do our normal long introduction for a couple of reasons. Both of these people have been on the show several times, so our audience should be familiar with them. Anyone in the insurance world and the annuity world should be familiar with them. I'm going to give a brief introduction. They're both national sponsors of the 62 Who Knew podcast, which reminds me, I don't say this enough, make sure to go to our website or go click on, as you're watching, to subscribe, like, and share. I don't say that enough. Our award-winning producer keeps reminding me, and I keep ignoring him. So do that. So let's just make the show happen. First and foremost is Mr. Tom Hegna, who is widely recognized as the #1 annuity expert in North America. His best-selling books, I can't say I read all of them, I'd be lying, but I've read 2 of them, and Paychecks and Playchecks changed my life, as I think it did for millions of Americans. I'm not going to go on his unbelievable resume and background because he's been here before, and I know you know who he is, and if you don't, shame on you. Welcome back, Tom, to 62 Who Knew.
Thank you, Michael. Great to be back with you.
Fantastic. And without further ado, Iron Dan, that's his new national nickname, Mr. Dan Anderson, who is the CEO and one of the founders of CHIFS. And also, you can see that on our website, and it is about the fractional sale of home equity. An idea still that when I bring up to people, they get that weird look, but it's an unbelievable platform for people to tap into their home equity and build a retirement that they never could without it. So welcome back, Iron Dan.
Thank you, Michael, and nice to be in your company, Tom. You're such a celebrity, so I feel my gravitas has obviously just been elevated, so I'm honored to be here. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Dan.
You know, it is true, and I don't mind saying this to our audience. When I would do a video, because I'm a video guy, and I would quote things about annuities. Annuities, this lifetime income is the best thing in the world, yada, yada, yada. When I got 500 or 700 views, Tom, I was so happy. I mean, because there was a time when I get 12 views or 22 views. And since you've joined the 62 Who Knew family, now when same exact video, as Tom Hegna says, lifetime, and then I make the same quote, 3,000 views. So you have also elevated me. Thank you so much. Tom, go into Paychecks and Playchecks. There's so much you can tell us about, but you literally changed the retirement world several years ago with your, not theory, your fact and your absolute studies that there are 2 ways to retire. You can retire off assets, you can retire off income. One of them is clearly better. I'm handing you the stage.
All right. Well, thank you, Michael. My first book is Paychecks and Playchecks. I always tell people I'm a reluctant author and never want to write a book. I didn't dream of writing a book, so why did I write a book? Well, here's why. Right now, if you were to talk to 50 different financial advisors and ask this very simple question, how should I retire, or what should my retirement portfolio look like? You know what you're going to get? You're going to get 50 different opinions of what you ought to do. Well, retirement's been studied in depth by PhDs all over the world. People like Dr. David Babel of Wharton, Dr. Moshe Milevsky of Toronto, Dr. Menachem Yari of Israel, Dr. Michael Fink, Dr. Wade Pfau of the American College. And I've read their research. And you know what the research says? There are not 50 optimal ways to retire. There's really one optimal way to retire, and that's what I write about. It's not based on my opinion. It's based on mathematical, scientific, and economic facts. Now, just because it's a short podcast, I'm going to cut right to the chase. What I really like about Paychecks and Playchecks is it concludes with four simple steps. Step number 1, you want to have enough guaranteed lifetime income to at least cover your basic living expenses. So figure out how much money do you need to pay the rent or the mortgage mortgage, how much for your food, your clothing, your cell phone, your internet, all your basic living expenses. Then you subtract out your Social Security because that's a lifetime income annuity. It's a guaranteed paycheck for life. It counts. You subtract out whatever your pension is if you have one, because that's a lifetime income annuity. It's a guaranteed paycheck for life. But whatever you're short, that's where an income annuity fits, okay? And the research shows that most retirees should have somewhere between 20 and 40% of their retirement portfolio in guaranteed lifetime income. I own 13 annuities. I don't sell annuities. I buy them, okay? And I've got annuities that start when I'm 60, when I'm 62, when I'm 65. Most of them start whenever I want. And so I've laddered them so that over time, I'm going to have increasing income for the rest of my life. So step number one, you want to cover those basic living expenses with guaranteed lifetime income. Now, the downside of lifetime income is it typically doesn't protect you against inflation. So step number two is you need to invest the rest of your money to protect yourself against inflation. So you want to put that into appreciating assets, things like stocks, real estate, if you believe in crypto or whatever, things that go up over time. And that's so over time, you can either buy more guaranteed lifetime income or you can take withdrawals out of that extra money so that you can have increasing income. And that's the real key. You want to have increasing income for the rest of your life. Step number three, you must have a plan for long-term care. No retirement plan is complete without a plan for long-term care. This is the number one thing most people forget about that can wipe out their entire life's work. And that's what we'll talk about when we incorporate CHIFS. We can talk about how we can solve that problem too. And step number four, the most efficient way to pass wealth to children, grandchildren, and charities is with life insurance. I tell people all the time, don't leave your kids any money. You're not supposed to leave your kids any money. You're supposed to spend your money, leave them life insurance, because you can do that for pennies on the dollar. Now, I'll use me as an example. We got 4 kids. And one day we're sitting around saying, how much we leave the kids? My wife said, I don't know. What do you think? I said, well, if we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, name the 4 kids the beneficiary. When we're both gone, they're going to get $1 million tax-free. That's $250,000 a piece tax-free, plus whatever's left over. There'll be stuff left over. I said, let's start there. So we bought a $1 million second to die life insurance policy, name the 4 kids beneficiary. That policy is completely paid up. Do you know what the total cost of that policy was? $150,000. So think about that. For 15 cents on the dollar, we get to transfer $1 million tax-free to our kids. But here's the best part. Who gets to spend the other $850,000? We do. So I just tell people, don't leave your kids money. Spend your money, life insurance, because you can do that for pennies on the dollar.
I love that. I think that's, don't leave your kids money, leave your kids life insurance. It's unbelievable. Well, you did like an hour show there in like 5 minutes. And you passed on so much knowledge. It was incredible. And we're going to bring Dan in because the truth of the matter is, in my opinion, as your humble host, not everybody can afford. In fact, the masses cannot afford to write that $150,000 check. But there is what, Dan, $14 trillion in equity in people's homes, if not more, if you count the people. I'm used to the market 62 and above because of what we do. The number is probably a lot larger than that. Yes, you can access your home equity to do this without creating debt. So we now bring in Dan and CHIFS. Tell us about CHIFS. Tell us why it's spreading through America like crazy. Tell us why it is looking at home equity like nothing has in the last 50 years.
Well, great. Thank you, Tom. That was that's quite the show to follow after your last 10 minutes. So again, my name is Dan Anderson from Cornerstone Financial. We developed a product called CHIFS, and the acronym stands for Converting Home Equity into Financial Success. And Michael mentioned 14 trillion, but it's actually a little greater than 14 trillion of home equity. It's actually 35 to 36 trillion dollars of home equity exists today in the U.S. But more importantly, 41% of every home in the U.S. is debt-free. And that's a debt asset. Most of those individuals that have that debt-free home are 55 and above, are planning for retirement. And that home typically represents their largest asset. It's an illiquid asset. But because of CHIFS, Converting Home Equity into Financial Success, we will actually buy a minority interest in your home, in your equity, give you those proceeds to use them to improve your lifestyle. And Tom discussed about a foundational basis of a paycheck, a guaranteed paycheck through an annuity. We agree. I've got an example. And these are real life examples. We've been in the market now for a little over a year. We're in 22 states. We're funding business each and every day. We're improving lifestyles, as I said, and it's kind of exciting. It's not kind of exciting, it's very exciting. When we could look at a 72-year-old or a 55-year-old and come up with a plan through their advisor to provide that guaranteed paycheck and obviously allow them to put a playcheck in addition to that paycheck is powerful. So the background is as follows. We've got a 60-year-old and a 59-year-old. They're looking to generate $160,000 of income starting at age 70, their retirement. Today, they have an investment portfolio of $1,650,000 with a debt-free $1 million home. So obviously the net worth is $2.650. That $1 million resident represents 40% of their net worth. That's not uncommon. And that 40% of net worth is probably a little light for this in this example. Most of the transactions we see, the home represents much greater than 40%. They desire to age in place. They want to stay in their home. It's their lifetime home. And as Tom said, spend down your assets, buy the life insurance policy. We have found through surveys that the second generation does not want mom and dad's home. They desire mom and dad to age in place. They don't want to have to fund for mom and dad to stay in their home. So what we do is, the concern is to run out of money. Every senior and every 55-year-old, everybody approaching retirement the challenge is not to run out of money. So Tom discussed the power of annuities, create the foundational income. With the purchase in this scenario, they want to purchase a $200,000 annuity. The concern is come up with the $200,000. Michael mentioned it 5 minutes ago. So the obvious is to liquidate $200,000 from their existing 1.650 investment portfolio, resulting in 1.45 left over. That $200,000 goes to the annuity carrier with the opportunity to generate guaranteed lifetime income at age 75 in 15 years. CHIFS is another opportunity. To generate $200,000, we're initially selling 20% of your home to Cornerstone Financing to generate that $200,000. Those individuals own their home. They live in their home. Dan doesn't live in that home 20% of the time. You own the home. There's no term on the product, meaning whenever you decide to sell or pay us off, that's when we're out. But this, as I said earlier, this couple desire is to stay in their home. So they're repositioning home equity in a highly efficient manner to fund that guaranteed lifetime income annuity. The investment portfolio, it starts to get sold down at age 70 in the first example. Obviously, they have 1.45 left over. They stroked a check for $200,000 to the insurance carrier, and that portfolio dwindles. The annuity generates lifetime income at age 75. The power of CHIFS is real. In scenario one, the investment portfolio was reduced by $200,000, resulting in 1.450. We funded the annuity, resulting in less portfolio growth, and then at age 90, the couple runs out of income based on their portfolio. Scenario two, because the investment portfolio remained intact, the home equity was repositioned to fund the annuity, resulting in longer cash flow, an additional 9 to 10 years of cash flow. CHIFS allows the couple to generate an additional 9 to 10 years of additional income.
That's powerful. That's life-changing. That's your longer lifespan.
Oh, my next book was Don't Worry, Retire Happy. And what Don't Worry, Retire Happy had, step 7 is use your home equity wisely. Now, in the past, I've talked there about reverse mortgages, and I had Dr. Wade Pfau on one of my webinars, and he gave like 40 or 50 ways to use a reverse mortgage properly. Okay, so I'm not against reverse mortgages at all, but let me just tell you this: CHIFS makes more sense to me personally. Okay, because I own 2 homes. They're debt free. One's worth, they're worth a fair chunk of money, okay? But they're just sitting there. And when I look out at the real estate market, I got lucky. I bought at the right time. The markets went almost straight up, and I benefit from that. But now I'm sitting with significant gains in these houses, and I'm worried. Now in Phoenix, home prices are actually starting to come down a little bit, and I'm worried about the economy and the debt and what happens. So I could easily see me selling 30, 40, 50% of these houses to just have the cash flow to do something. The money's just sitting in those houses. It's not doing me anything. And the only time it wouldn't make sense to do this is if you thought the real estate market was going to head straight up, then why would you do it? But if you think the market's going to be flat or going down, this is a very wise way to use that real estate. And here's what I really like about it. There's no interest accumulating. See, what I didn't like about reverse mortgages is that there are quite a bit of fees that you got to pay. And then the debt keeps climbing. And I'm a guy who doesn't like to be in debt. This way, you're not in debt. They just put their name on. They're on the title for 30% or 40% or whatever percent you sell the house for. And when you sell the house, they get their percent, you get the other percent. They're not going to pay your property taxes. They're not going to pay your maintenance bills. That's up to you. But they're going to just sit on your title, owning a percent of your house, but you get the cash and you can use the cash for whatever you want, whether it's to buy an annuity, to provide for long-term care, whether you want to do something else. I mean, to me, it makes sense, especially for younger people, instead of having this debt climbing. There's no debt in this. It's just a sale. You get the money. To me, it makes sense.
As we live longer than any generation before us, one question becomes more important than ever. Will your income last as long as you do? On the 62 Who Knew podcast, we dive deep into the strategies that protect your future. And at the center of every strong retirement plan is guaranteed income. Annuities create income you cannot outlive. They provide stability, protection, and peace of mind, no matter what the market does. Visit 62whoknew.com and start planning the rest of your life today. What's the biggest threat to your retirement savings? It's not the stock market. It's the cost of long-term care. Home care, assisted living, or nursing facilities can drain your life savings in just a few years. That's why long-term care insurance isn't a luxury. It's a necessity. It protects your assets, preserves your independence, and gives your family peace of mind. Don't leave your future to chance. Visit 62whoknew.com and start planning the retirement you deserve. Right, and it makes more than sense. And the barrier of entrance. Did I say that right? What's the right term? The barrier
of entry.
Barrier of entry that I see that's false, because that's how new things start. When I talk to people about CHIFS, and I'm always talking to people about CHIFS, is what do you mean you're going to sell a part of? What does that mean? What are you not understanding? You own a house, you own 100%, you sell 10, 20, 30%. That's crazy. I mean, I've had financial planners go, why? And it's just amazing to me that that's the barrier, because the example that I've always come back with, and I learned it from Dan and Dan's partner, Craig, is, do you have a portfolio of any kind? I don't care. $1 million, $12, crypto. Do you have anything? Yeah. Have you ever sold part of it? Well, of course. Why? Well, I needed the money for something else. Oh my God, you sold a small percentage of your portfolio and left the rest intact? Well, yeah. Do you ever go to the ATM and take money out of your checking account? Yeah. Do you take it all? No. Oh my God, you're taking a fractional portion of your checking account? What don't you understand? Why is there this misunderstanding that selling 10, 20, or 30% of your home is the same thing but stronger? As you said, Tom, eloquently, there's no debt. There's no payment. And then using it for something, theoretically hundreds of thousands, to build into something that's worth millions 20, 30 years later. What do you see? What are you seeing as CHIFS, Dan, continues to expand? When we first met, you were in 2 states. Now you're in 22 states. What are you seeing about that mental block of, well, what do you mean sell 10% of my house?
Well, as you just articulated, it's a current asset. Home equity is a current asset. As I said earlier, we're just repositioning it in a highly efficient manner. But more importantly, it sounds like we've got a sale in Tom Hegna. I heard he has 2 homes that are debt-free.
Yes.
We can do
I
multiple
get credit
homes.
for that sale.
Yep, so thank you. But the power of a reposition of an asset, I'll use the last 24 months. The S&P 500 in the last 24 months is up 42%. Your home didn't appreciate 42%. And more importantly, that 42% improves your lifestyle. Having home equity is not necessarily, well, it doesn't pay your bills. It's not going to improve your lifestyle. So to reposition that in an income annuity or in a 529 college planning for grandchildren, to pay the tax liability on a Roth conversion, long-term care insurance. Just imagine, you use your home to stay in your home and to get paid in your home. You can't stay in your home if you don't have your health and income. CHIFS accomplishes both. We've done a lot of transactions where we'll do a laddered transaction. Tom mentioned laddered annuities. We've had individuals that feel their home is going to continue to appreciate at 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 20%. That's great. But we've got individuals that sell 5% of their home today, come back next year, sell another 5% based on the current valuation. So laddering is also not foreign to us. There's also some pretty sophisticated, interesting estate planning opportunities with CHIFS. Those homes that are already in trust, 99 into 100% of those homes that are in trust today are debt-free. There's an opportunity to do a CHIFS, have those proceeds go back to the trust, have the trust buy a large second-to-die life insurance policy without any gift tax to supersize that trust. So it's highly efficient. Our product has also been used for in-force financing, debt consolidation, buy a second home, give the second generation forward inheritance. We've got a number of individuals that use CHIFS to provide proceeds to the second generation for first-time home ownership. So the examples and how CHIFS is being used in the market continues to amaze us. We're learning so much. But again, $36 trillion to reposition to improve a lifestyle is powerful.
Yeah. And I'd like you to touch, because you're the two experts on this. One of the things you said, Tom, in the very beginning, long-term care is essential, long-term care insurance. Guaranteed income is essential. That comes from annuity. There are annuities, and it's amazing to me that the public still doesn't get this. There, you can purchase an incredible annuity with a great rate of return with a long-term care insurance rider. And if you would, go into that just a little, Tom, because, again, CHIFS solves those two of the biggest problems in everybody's retirement plan.
Yeah. So the nice thing about annuities is you don't have to qualify medically. Okay. You don't have to qualify medically to get it. So it would pay you an income just like any other income annuity. But if you need long-term care, some companies will double it. Some companies even triple it for a period of time while you need the care. So you're going to want to, read the details of those contracts, but those are some simple ways. There's even one called the bridge annuity that is a guaranteed issue. It has, in addition to pay an income, it's got a guaranteed long-term care benefit. So even if somebody was in a nursing home right now, they could literally get that bridge annuity and it would be issued. So that's the nice thing about using annuities for long-term care. You don't have the medical underwriting. If you're healthy, look at a life insurance policy with a long-term care rider. You might get a little bigger bang for the buck off of a life insurance policy than an annuity. But I say this about long-term care: any plan is better than no plan. And right now, most people have no plan. So, work with a financial professional. I say do it. Retirement is not a do-it-yourself project. All right. I know this stuff inside and out. I work with 2 financial advisors. Okay. Because there's thousands of products. The product that's best for a 50-year-old male is not the same product that's best for an 85-year-old female. A lot of people don't know this, that based on your age, whether you're male or female, different companies have different features that are better for those age groups. And how is a person, the general public, supposed to know that? They're not going to know that. But that's why you need to work with a financial professional. And then if they know the CHIFS system, and if they know how annuities work and life insurance and investments, because you need all of those to retire successfully, they can craft a plan for you that makes the most sense and is the most efficient for your dollars.
Long-term care, we're seeing a lot of the second generation talking to mom and dad about their future liability. And again, it's the children's future liability, because mom and dad do not want to come out of pocket for long-term care and or that annuity with LTC benefits. So the second generation is bringing up a CHIFS conversation. And the conversation is simple. Mom and dad, sell 15% of your home, buy this coverage, because we don't want that future liability. And typically those contracts will have a death benefit associated with, if they were to predecease and not use the contract, there's an opportunity to pay back some of the proceeds to chiefs if in fact the second generation wishes to resume and or retain the home. But that's what Tom just mentioned is a very, very powerful. LTC is real. Long-term care coverage is the biggest. I mean, in our opinion, we're seeing most of the stuff that we do is income annuity to either fund long-term care and or provide guaranteed lifetime income.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I'm going backwards just a few minutes in a couple of your comments, because one of the things that I don't know if it was Craig or you, but one of you said, Dan, on the last show that you were on several weeks ago, and again, it's another premise that people go, but there is a difference between home ownership and home equity. I think it was Craig. It might have been you. Correct me if I'm wrong. And when you first think about that, you go, what? There's isn't it great that you have $1 million in equity in your house? Okay. Let's say you owe 100% of what your house is worth. You have zero equity. You're still enjoying home ownership. You're still having dinner on Sunday nights, Christmas, Thanksgiving. All the memories, all the emotion of owning a home has nothing to do with the equity. It is two separate things. Why not treat that equity like your liquidity and use it to protect retirement? And not even retirement, protect today's life, build retirement. So again, that's another theory that I've brought up since you and Craig brought it up a month ago on a few podcasts and a few things that I've been on and gotten that same look. But there is, whether you have $1 million in equity or no equity, your home is still your home. There is a difference between home ownership and home equity. Go, Dan.
Home ownership is emotional. Home equity should not be emotional. That's the difference. So as Michael said, you can own a home and have an 80% mortgage on it. You still own your home. You're emotionally connected to that home. That same home, if you own it 100% and you sell 50% of your home to a third party, but you still live in your home, you enjoy the home, you control the home, you still have that same emotion, but you now have the opportunity to use those proceeds to improve your lifestyle. That's emotion.
Yeah. And it's something the country's not used to. Your take on that, Tom, the difference between equity and ownership?
And again, you're not in debt, so there's not an interest climbing. That's what bothers me about some of the other alternatives is that you get into this debt and the interest starts climbing. And then I just read one on LinkedIn where this person had long-term care insurance, but then they did a reverse mortgage and then they got sick and they had to move out. Well, now the money wasn't there and it was kind of a nightmare and they just hadn't set it up properly. But see, that doesn't happen with Chiefs. It's just, you're just selling 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 50% of your house. You still own the house. You still have full control of the house. It's just someday in the future, whether it's 5 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, they're going to get their percent and you're going to get the other percent. It's pretty simple.
It is. It's what you didn't mention, Tom, is we've got downside risk. So there's always a discussion about home appreciation, 3-4% per year. But if we do a transaction today and the home is worth X, and in 15 years they sell the home and it's 20% minus X, guess what? We lose. But there's no clawback on those proceeds that we initially generated. So we've got unlimited downside risk, but we cap our upside, as Tom said. We will not own any greater than 50% contractually of any home out there today.
Yep. We're discussing two things today on 62 Who Knew. Actually, three things: long-term care insurance, guaranteed income annuity, and using your home equity to build your retirement plan as an asset in the form of Chiefs. And all three topics are win-win. That's kind of unusual. I'm a national spokesman for the reverse mortgage industry for the last 20 years. I love reverse mortgages. And sometimes Dan and I and his partner Craig discuss off camera in private, stop comparing Chiefs to reverse mortgages. It's apples and oranges. There is a place for reverse mortgages. There is. But that place is not for the 40 or 50-year-old to fund, or even a 60-year-old to fund a guaranteed income annuity with a long-term care insurance rider. That is not what reverse mortgages were made for. It can be done, but again, we got to be honest with our viewers. I'm hoping that's why we have grown the way we've grown, because we're blunt, very bluntly honest about everything. Can you use a reverse mortgage for that? Yes. And the longer you live in the home, the less equity you will have and the less inheritance your children will get. I know my reverse mortgage brothers and sisters, when this airs on Monday, I'm going to get total grief. But that is a fact. Reverse mortgages have their place. I still think they can be, or should be, the savior of the senior generation. CHIFS is the savior of the generation before that, so they don't need saving in 20 years. And I think that's what everybody misses. Once you're in dilemma mode, panic mode, oh my God, do I sell the house? Do I sell a portion of the house? Do I get a reverse mortgage? Do what Tom and Dan are saying 20 years earlier. You're never in that position. And I don't get why the masses don't get that.
You'd have trouble with the regulators, Michael, of doing a reverse mortgage to buy an annuity. I would never recommend that, and the regulators would come down hard.
Neither would I.
This because that increasing interest rate, increasing debt could really harm a person. What we're talking here is just getting a lump sum money that you can use for whatever you want it for. All right, and to me that just makes sense because there's no interest, there's no piling out of debt. It's just sitting on your title. They get 30%, you get 70%, whatever the deal is. Pretty simple. And I like things that are simple that I can understand.
As do I. So we don't have any age restrictions. We actually just did a transaction last week. Brother and sister inherited a family beach house out in California, multi-million-dollar property, debt-free. They did a significant CHIFS. It was probably $1.5 million chief to use those proceeds to pay the taxes and the maintenance for that family house for the rest of their lives. So that's a pretty interesting strategy. Also, chiefs, we can go in a second position. So those individuals that have a existing mortgage at 2.5%, I mean, that's the best financing you'll ever see in your life. We can go behind that. So it's unlike a reverse where you do a reverse mortgage, you have to pay that existing debt off. Not with chiefs. Highly flexible, no term, no age restriction.
Today, the average funeral can cost $10,000 to $20,000, and too often families are forced to make difficult decisions at the worst moment of their lives. Final expenses create stress, debt, and heartbreak, right when your loved ones need comfort, not crisis. That's why the 62 Who Knew podcast brings you trusted guidance on final expense insurance, an affordable, compassionate way to protect your family from unexpected financial burdens. Visit 62whoknew.com and learn how a small plan today can spare your family emotional and financial pain tomorrow. Whether you're purchasing a new home or refinancing the one you love, one thing has never changed. Mortgages remain the most inexpensive cost of funds available. And in today's market, choosing the right mortgage professional can save you thousands and help secure your financial future. That's why the 62 Who Knew podcast partners with American Pacific Mortgage, one of the nation's most respected lenders, helping homeowners make smart decisions at every stage of life. Visit 62whoknew.com to learn how the right mortgage strategy can power your retirement plan. The fact that you can take a second position is life-changing, is staggering, because the great majority of the country, I'm not going to guess at a figure because I don't know the figure, but the great majority of the country refinanced during the COVID days. There are tens and tens, if not, I won't say hundreds of millions, but there's got to be tens and tens of millions of homeowners between 2.5% and 3.5%. And you don't have to have a degree in economics. You don't have to be a Nobel Prize winner. Those days are never coming back. I used to say never coming back in my lifetime, but they're never coming back. Okay. And most of the public doesn't realize how those days truly crippled the American financial economy. 2 and 2.5% money. It killed CDs. It killed annuities. It killed investments. And it is presently killing the real estate market. Okay. I talk to people all the time that I want to sell my house. I do. I have a reason to. We're having more children. We want to retire. I want to sell. Well, then why haven't you? I got a 2.5. I have a 3% mortgage. What am I going to do? I'm going to sell and then go get 6.5 or 6.25. That's crazy. I guess I'll stay. Second mortgages are making a comeback in America like they haven't since the 1970s. People are going, I need another room. We have to redo the pool. We need a bigger, whatever. We'll get a second mortgage and we'll make this house into a new house. I'm not giving up that damn 3% 30-year fixed rate money. And that is, I think, the largest factor crippling the real estate market right now. Your thoughts on that, guys? Just going off annuities for a second?
I mean, I just tell you a quick story. I was just at a golf shop this weekend, and the greeter at the golf store was the realtor who sold the house that I'm living in right now. And I said, Dave, well, what's going on? He goes, well, 70% of the realtors in Arizona have not sold one single house this year. He said, I'm lucky. I've sold 3. But I mean, this is a guy who used to sell 20, 30 homes during the heyday. And he's being a greeter at the golf store now.
Yeah, wow. That's better, though, than being the greeter at Walmart. So you got to give him credit for that. Go ahead, Dan.
So we see some transactions where individuals are downsizing. So they're going from that Phoenix $3 million home to $1 million home, and they're a cash buyer because they want to preserve a ton of liquidity. So in that transaction, we will participate in a new acquisition for a cash buyer. Let me say that again. Mm-hmm. We will participate with a cash buyer in a new acquisition. So an example is that $3 million going down to $1 million. Love the home. They were prepared to write $1 million check. Their financial planner came to us and said, hey, would Cornerstone be interested in writing a check for $200,000? And the answer was yes. So that client preserved an additional $200,000. They've stroked a check for $800,000, and they're living in their retirement home, $1 million home. So that $200,000, just imagine the example I gave you earlier. You dropping that into that income annuity. That's your foundational paycheck for the rest of your life. Pretty cool. I think by the end of the show, Michael, Tom's going to be a client. I mean, I could just see it in his face. He has 2 homes.
Yeah.
He's ready. He's not moving.
Yeah. I'm not sure if Vegas would give odds on that, but I think it's a possibility. One of the things I want to ask, a couple of things I want to ask. Well, I'm always remiss in this. I'm so bad at it. But for those of you that are interested in lifetime guaranteed annuities, income annuities, CHIFS, please go to www.62whoknew. Click on the links. You're going to either get me or you're going to get Dan or you're going to get one of Dan's professionals. Go to the CHIFS link. Click on it. If you have any direct questions that you just want to ask, you can ask me, M. Banner at 62 Who Knew. I am a believer not in just these 2 people as individuals. We only bring on sponsors here that we believe in them on a personal level and what they're doing for the public. Take a quick look, take a long look at 62whoknew.com. I don't bring on sponsors, for a paycheck. We don't bring on sponsors to what they call stack sponsors who look at all the people we have. We're talking to several new people right now, several of the largest in-home care companies in the country. We feel that even though our market is 55 to 110, we feel that there is a need for a strong in-home care company. We're going a little out on a different tangent, and we are bringing on in the next 30 days an international cruise company, because most of you watching, your favorite vacation is cruises, and you'll be getting a discount because you're a 62 Who Knew viewer. We try and only bring on the best of the best, and you 2 gentlemen are the best of the best. So go to 62whoknew.com. If you have any questions, click on the links. You'll get response from me or one of the professionals here. You gave an incredible example, Dan, of somebody buying a house and getting 20% from CHIFS. And of course, you used a $1 million example of would you be willing to cut a $200,000 check? What if somebody was buying what if somebody had $350,000 in cash and fell in love with a $500,000 house, what I refer to as a McMansion, okay? Would you take 15% of that $500,000 house and cut him a check for $150,000 And those 350 borrowers could buy a $500,000 house.
We would come very, very close. Nope, we would come very, very close. Yes. Very close to that
That's
number.
something for the people that are listening that are thinking of buying their next house cash to think about. Now, I'd love you to buy a $1 million house and only put up $800,000. Maybe buy a $2 million house and only put up $1.6 million. But for those 5 to 750 people, and that's mass America, for you to be able to step up with 10, 15, or 20% to move them up in class in home, to have that much of a bigger home, that many more bedrooms, that much of a better school district, because you don't have age requirements like other equity products. That's a staggering way to use Chiefs. And I want everybody to pay attention to this. And of course, why? Because one of our national sponsors is RE/MAX, voted for the last 12 years. Little RE/MAX commercial here, voted for the last 12 years in a row, the most trusted real estate company in the world. And that's what 62 Who Knew exists for, to help all of you listening capture all of these different things in your life and do it with people that you trust. That purchase angle, Dan, is something we've got to get to the 2.1 million realtors in this industry. And then I'm going to also go backwards to something you said, Tom, about realtors in your state. But I very rarely pay attention to statistics. I learned earlier in life that most statistics are made up. They're made up for the person doing the speaking to make a point. They just are. You know, what's that old expression that our fathers used? Figures lie and liars figure. But when NAR, the National Association of Realtors, puts out statistics, they are real, and I pay attention. Last year, more than 70%, it's not just Arizona, more than 70% of the realtors in the United States of America did not sell one house. Now, you keep that in mind when you're thinking about your financial future. Let me take that a little further. A little over 40% of the realtors in this country sold 2 houses. We're no longer in the 80-20 world. We're in the 95-5 world. And that is something to consider for everyone's financial future. You know, your take on this, or as we approach we still got time, but as we approach the latter part of the segment, I've always thought that the real estate community is the community that the world revolves around, especially in America. People might say it's healthcare, people might say it's financial, but home buying is the American dream. When you own a home, you're either buying a lawnmower, I used to say from Sears, that's so sad that that's not true. You're either getting those services, you're getting your pool taken care of, you're buying clothes for your kids because you're in a great, to me, the real estate industry is what makes the world go round, specifically our American economy. And it's sinking. Yes, I know there's realtors watching going, I had the best year of my life. I have a couple of friends like that who had the best year of their lives last year in real estate. And their average sale of a home is $2 million. Yes, that's right, America. The rich aren't suffering. It's the rest of us. As we close out, your take on both of that. First you, Tom.
Well, I mean, I think that's the K-shaped economy, right? People who own homes and have things, they're doing okay, and the people who don't own homes and they don't own things, they're struggling. And so, all that Dan is saying is, why not take some of that equity that's just sitting in the house and put it to work? Right now, home prices in Arizona aren't doing anything. They shot up, and now they're just sitting there. And they could sit here for 10 years. They could sit here for 12 years. I don't know how long. But in the meantime, people could put that equity to work, without incurring debt and increasing interest.
So back to your $500,000 example. How cool would it be if myself and Tom and Michael Banner went up north of you, Michael, to the Villages? For those of you that don't know anything about the Villages, that's a community of 55 and above, 70 to 75,000 homes. We actually hired a third-party firm to do a little fact-finding on the Villages. The average price home in the Villages is about $550,000. 65% of them are debt-free. 65%. That's roughly 45,000 homes in the Villages. Just imagine, Tom, if we did a little seminar at the Villages, educating 70,000 people that they can improve their lifestyles. with a non-debt product, CHIFS, for income annuities, for 529 college planning. I mean, I can go on. Healthcare, long-term care, buy a new golf cart, buy a bigger home, buy a smaller home.
I happen to be good friends with the number one producer in the villages, Greg Parody. He basically owns that place. So we need to talk about that.
And so Michael mentioned something. Cornerstone Financial, we do not sell any product as an insurance products. Our only business is providing liquidity through home equity. That's it. We work very closely with the advisor population, insurance advisor, wealth advisor, pre-retirement advisor, home health care advisor, realtor advisor, CPA. I mean, that's the individual that we work with.
And that's the line of credibility. You know, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you're not the choir, they're the choir. That's the line of credibility that you two bring, quite frankly, to 62 Who Knew. It's why 10 months ago we were having 1,000 views per month, and this month will come close to 30,000. Tom doesn't sell annuities. Okay? I've asked Tom, why don't we start selling? We have tens of thousands of people. We can make a fortune. Tom doesn't sell annuities. CHIFS does not sell financial product. It works through a finance, and that brings to me a level of credibility of what you're saying is coming from intelligence. It's coming from the heart. It's not coming from, ooh, I hope somebody clicks on the link and I can sell them something. I'm doing that to a degree with 62 Who Knew because I want to bring our viewers the best of everything. But when I have guests that don't sell product, that are opining on what is best for someone's future, I think that's a line of credibility that most people, in most cases, does not approach. And you two approach that line and go over it. Thank you both, as always, for being here. To our audience, remember, go to 62whoknew.com to learn about all of these things that we spoke about. Contact me directly at mbanner@62whoknew. Let me put my podcast voice back on. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you for next week's episode. Thank you so much to our two guests, Dan and Tom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice seeing you, Tom.